A St. John soldier who was killed in 1917 has caught the attention of historians as they try to identify human remains recovered in northern France. And as more stones are overturned, the mystery only deepens. 9 years ago, a full set of remains were discovered near Luce, a suburb of the French city of Lille. Some of the items found with the remains were very personal: a pocket comb, nail clippers, a decayed boot. But this was the biggest clue: uniform collar tags, proving the soldier served with the 13th Battalion of the Quebec-based Royal Highlanders of Canada. The remains are from a man between the ages of 20 and 24, who stood between 5'5" and 5'8½". Early on, the casualty identification team in Ottawa determined there were 46 possible candidates. That's how many members of the 13th Battalion are missing from what's known as the Battle of Hill 70, which took place in this same area in August 1917. Canadian casualties numbered in the thousands during that battle, and many were never identified or found because of the heavy use of artillery and poison gas. Researchers have methodically eliminated one potential candidate after another, both by studying the bones and, in some cases, comparing the DNA of this unknown soldier with surviving family members of the original 46 candidates.
The list of candidates was about 20 or so, and we've been able to eliminate most of those candidates.
But there's one soldier they've been unable to rule out, and he's a Newfoundlander. We don't have any photos of him, but he enlisted with the Canadian Expeditionary Force in Valcartier, Quebec in September 1914 as George Patrick Kirk. He lists St. John's, Newfoundland as his hometown and describes himself as a miner from Nova Scotia. He was killed on the first day of the Battle of Hill 70, August 15, 1917. His name is carved into the Vimy Memorial, along with more than 11,000 other Canadian soldiers who died in France and have no known grave. But now he's caught the attention of this historian because these boots may have been worn by Private Kirk. He may have tidied his black hair with this pocket comb.
There are a number of candidates left to test, but Private Kirk is right within the anthropological profile.
But there's a problem. McKinnon and her team have not been able to track down any of Private Kirk's descendants in order to arrange for DNA testing. And now there are questions about this soldier's real name. The issue? His next of kin is written here as Mrs. Thomas Quirk, not Kirk. Kirk was Roman Catholic, but there are no baptismal records at the St. John's Archdiocese for a George Patrick Kirk born in the winter of 1894. So we have the surname Kirk, Quirk. There's even a reference in this soldier's service records to the last name Quick. So yes, confusing, but not uncommon for this era. But there are records for a Patrick Quirk, who was born a year later in March 1895.
Patrick Quirk and George Patrick Kirk seem to possibly be the same person. Patrick Quirk, however, was illegitimate. He was born to a George Humphreys and Anne Quirk, with Anne living on Harvey Road in St. John's.
At some point, the remains of the 13th Battalion soldier will be buried in France with full military honors. McKinnon hopes she can identify the soldier before that happens, and his family can be present during the funeral.
We would love to be able to give him his name back. He's been unknown for a long time.
So if you're a descendant of George Patrick Kirk, or maybe it's Patrick Quirk, the Casualty Identification Program in Ottawa would like to hear from you. Terry Roberts, CBC News, St. John's.